There's a story of two boys from two totally different backgrounds, two completely opposite families, and two very contrasted stories. One was black and one was white. One was irrational and the other more rational. One struggled with anger. The other sought to be a peacemaker. One was never going to take anything from anyone, ever. The other, at a very young age, learned to love first and hate never. These stories, while completely opposite, have something very much so in common. But what was this common denominator, this similarity, this symbiotic connection? They had each other. That is the story of myself and my closest friend since we were 4 years old. But we're not going to talk about the ins and outs of our story together. We're not going to talk about the amazing God-ordained moments that happened between our friendship. Today we're here simply to talk about the journey, the story, the testament that my best friend has to share. Today we're going to talk about the strongest person that I know and his story. Today we're going to talk about the testimony of Andrew Nielsen.
Welcome back to Life with Jalen, where we have real talk with real people about real life. I'm super excited to be back here with you all. Thank you for joining me today, as well as my very best friend since we were 4 years old. Here with me today is Andrew Nielsen, my best friend since we were kids. Man, our story is pretty crazy when you think about all the ins and outs of our friendship and like how it all kind of happened.
Yeah, man. I mean, we went from not living together or living near each other, and then suddenly my family moved near where you lived. We went to different congregations, and then we went to the same congregation, and we went to the same school, but then we went to different schools, and so our life has literally intertwined and gone away. And
it's like we were next to each other in a way, the next.
We went to the same college, and then now we're at different colleges, and so
different job career, like everything. But it's like it's cool because like all the ins and outs, like once it started, it was like it was stuck, and it's just
each time it gave us an opportunity to make our relationship really stronger. Honestly.
Yeah, and those are the kind of friendships you cherish because it's like not everyone is blessed with those where they last for a lifetime, and I truly think that's what the Lord has blessed us with is one of those lifetime friendships, and I really cherish it. But I already said we're not really here to talk about that in our friendship and our relationship together, but we're here to talk about your testimony. So why don't you, for those who don't know, tell a little bit about.
Don't know? Oh, really?
Yeah, there are people out there that don't know. So for those that don't know, why don't you tell about what happened, like going all the way back to the beginning?
Well, it all started on a roller coaster ride. I had been feeling some symptoms in the months leading up, random things like tightness in my chest, random cramps that whenever I would crash at your house, I'd wake you up in the middle of the night, literally screaming at the top of my lungs, bloody murder. And you're like, Andrew, what's going on? I'm like, I can't feel my legs. Yeah. And so those symptoms were warning signs, but I didn't really put them together. I think I had a doctor's appointment scheduled for a couple weeks after the actual event happened. But it ultimately, what happened was I was in line for this ride, and we get up to the top floor, and I had already felt so sick. I was like, you know what, I'm not getting on this ride. As soon as I get up there, I'm getting off. And we get up there, and I start feeling woozy. I'm holding on to this bar, and somebody yells, let go of the bar, let go of the bar. I've got you. And so I'm like, all right, I'm letting go. Immediately, I start going down. And by the time I hit the ground, I'm totally out. And what I wake up to, I wake up and I feel totally fine again. It was just a quick fainting spell.
Sorry, this is a horrible story. It's just.
But he was there. He saw the whole thing, and so it's a freaky thing that happens in the moment. But looking back on it, it was pretty crazy because I basically wake up to my entire dad's wallet in my mouth while I'm trying to tell everybody I'm okay while I'm laying on the ground. And so
they thought he was passing out, and they didn't want him to choke on his tongue. And so this
seizure, or something like that.
This lady was like, something needs to go in his mouth. So they grab his dad's wallet,
which has been in his back pocket for 20 plus years.
Just shove it in there, and he wakes up to the taste of leather,
like decaying leather. Yeah. So they finally let me back up after choking me, and I walk down, and then the doctor that's at an amusement park who's registered, I'm sure, of somebody as something. Dentistry school, maybe. Yeah. They look at me, he's just dehydrated, and they give me 2 free tickets and let me go on my way. And then we get home, go to sleep or whatever. The next day, Jennifer comes downstairs and checks on me before she leaves for work, just because of the day before, and sees that I'm honestly totally ghost white. She says, all right, we're going to the ER. And I remember that road trip, or that little car trip, like it was yesterday, because on my way there, I was like, I've never gotten an IV before. And within 2 hours, I had 3 in my arm, and I was being told that I would be stuck twice every 3 days for the rest of my life, honestly.
So kidney failure.
Yeah, kidney failure. Yep.
So where was your mind at? I mean, where were your thoughts? I mean, the reality of it is this. In a moment like that, we'd all like to believe that we're the Job. We'd be like, oh, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. But when your world's flipped upside down and everything that you thought you've known, your plans, whatever, is just completely shattered in a moment, so it seems, what does that do to you? Where were you at? What was your reality like? Where was your mind?
Well, I definitely didn't process it in the beginning. My doctor sitting there telling me I've got kidney failure, and AACC classes start on Monday. Yeah. And so I'm like, all right, well, am I going to be able to make it to class on Monday? Because I've already signed up for the semester. And as the week continued on, I still did not totally process it. My room was basically a revolving door, as people, friends, loved ones, church members just constantly were coming through and say, hey, we love you, we support you, you're going to get through this, God's going to make a way, God's going to do something. And I was there. My faith was at 1,000 because I had all these people that were coming and supporting me and truly telling me, hey, you know what, this is going to happen, God's got this is all in his plan. And I believed it. I really did.
Yeah. And I think it's also that, why you might not be as worried. I mean, obviously, it's still something to be concerned about, but the reality of it is, when it comes to kidney failure, there are options. Because everyone has 2, so it's easy. So it's not like other organs where it's like someone has to literally die for you to get this, because you can find family and friends, and that's kind of what you started to do, is you were having family and friends get tested to see. And so what happened with this at this moment, where we now know you're not too freaked out, because it's obviously it's putting your life on pause, but there's still some hope of moving forward. So what was kind of going on leading up to the transplant?
So, I mean, 2 days in, they immediately start the discussion. All right, you're on dialysis. This is not a permanent solution. You can't get another kidney to replace this. And so they tell us the fastest way is through getting a living donor. And so suddenly people I haven't talked to in 20 years coming out of even though I've only been alive for 19 years at this time, are coming out of the woodwork and saying, hey, I want to donate. Third cousins that I've never met or even heard of are saying, hey, I want to donate. But actually Johns Hopkins, they've got a limit on how many people can donate or get tested to donate at a time, and that's 5. And so immediately with friends and close friends and family, we had that list full. And very quickly we discovered that my mom was going to be the donor. Which was awesome. My own mother, who brought me into this world, now gets to save my life again. And I know that every parent, it's a true struggle for them to watch their child to go through something and not be able to do anything about it. And this was kind of her chance to do something about it, And so it only actually takes 9 months, which a lot of doctors said was a record time. To totally test her from the time that the testing began to the time that I got the kidney transplant. It was 9 months, that quick.
Wow, that's wild. So what happened? That's I've got a kidney, so everything's seems good, right?
Yeah, I mean, I got a kidney, and suddenly life was back to normal. I had energy again. I didn't look like death all the time. Like, it was really, everything was great. And then 8 months go by, and I get a call. I'm actually in the parking lot for class at AACC. Hey, your levels look off. We need you to come in today. And immediately my heart just dropped because I knew it was done. Things had been off already, and it was just, I knew I'd lost the kidney. I get into the hospital. They start doing some initial testing, and they discovered that my creatinine's crazy high, that there's scarring on the kidney. They say, you know what, we're going to try to save it. But I knew it was gone. It's one of those things where how a mother, I mean, I'm not comparing myself to a mother, but mothers will know whenever they've lost their baby. Yeah. And so I knew that there was something inside of me that was dead immediately. Sure. And I remember so vividly, staring at the mirror around 3 a.m., like gripping the sink in my little gown, begging God, I can't lose this. Even though I was only on dialysis for 8 months, it was the worst 8 months I've ever lived.
No, you're thinking
and now they're telling me you're going to have to go back to that, and possibly for much, much longer.
Yeah.
And so I'm begging him, please don't take this away. Please don't let this go. And nothing ends up happening, and it ultimately goes away. And back on dialysis I go.
So not only are you did you deal with kidney failure, but here you are kind of getting back on your feet and now dealing with kidney failure again. And you start getting your life back, things start going back in order, you're back in school, different things like that, and now you're back into the same scenario. Your world's flipped upside down. You're going to dialysis 3 times a week, 4 to 5 hours each time, where they're literally sucking the life out of you, taking your physical strength. Your mind's got to be exhausted. So now at this point, like I said, we talked about before, the first time it probably wasn't as much of a spiritual battle because you knew your church had you, and thank God for the church, because I remember, especially the first time, everyone was there, and you've got churches upon states and countries and continents.
You started that. You did that hashtag. Andrew needs a kidney hashtag, and that blew up
it was
with
awesome.
all the people sharing their support and
people praying, churches praying,
people eating uncooked kidney beans.
There was some
weird stuff.
If you have not looked at it, check out Andrew Needs a Kidney Challenge. There's some pretty interesting videos in there. Some people rapping, some people singing, some people
facing their fears,
it was really cool. So people just doing something to spread the awareness of Andrew Needs a Kidney, and it was great. And like I said, thank God for the church, because all of the prayers and support. And while that was still present the second time, now I think it's like you're starting to feel more of this spiritual battle begin, because like you already said, you're like, God, I can't go through this again. I've done it once, and I knew what that was like, but there was so much more hope. But here,
but even whenever the kidney came, and came so fast, in 9 months, already towards the end of those 8 months, I was done.
Yeah.
Like Jennifer had talked to me a couple times about it. My dad talked about it. They were like, you've reached your max. And I actually spent the last 2 weeks right before my transplant in the hospital because my blood pressure was so out of control that they couldn't get medications. They couldn't give me anything to get under control. And we were talking to the doctor, what can we do? And they said, the only thing that can save you right now is a kidney. Yeah. Which luckily I had one I was already scheduled for one, but I was already at my max the first time. And now I'm going back into it already knowing I had met my max.
So so now that you know this is where you're going, what kind of battle were you fighting now in your mind and in your spirit? What was there, or maybe there wasn't a battle, maybe there was some hope and some faith building up, or I don't know, just where were you at throughout this next phase of kind of figuring out what your life was going to be like?
I was David and Goliath. No, I wasn't. I really wasn't.
I was solid as a rock.
Exactly.
That's what we'd all like to think.
I about 2 or 3 weeks after officially decided or found out that my kidneys had rejected, or my kidney had rejected, I was driving in the car with Andrew Prasad, and I looked over at him and I just said, I don't know why, but I think that this is going to be much longer. I just already knew in my spirit and in my mind, and just that round 2 was not going to be the same as round 1. There was already so many indicators, but it just had really settled about 2 or 3 weeks in. And from then on, I would love to say, well, I started trekking up the mountain for my miracle. No, I started immediately going down and spiraling into a black hole. And one of the first things that I struggled with the most was trying to forgive myself, because the kidney was mine. Yeah. It was my kidney. And now it's gone, and there's nobody to blame but myself. I blame myself so much for this kidney being gone. And I would love to say that I was angry at God. Right. But I wasn't.
Because it's like, it's your body. It's something a part of you. So it's like, something's wrong with me. Yeah.
It's like, what didn't I do well enough, Yeah. And so I couldn't just say, all right, God, I forgive you. No, eventually God wears you down. But instead it was myself, and it was justified. I could justify my anger at myself. And so one of the first things that had to happen was I needed to forgive myself for this kidney going. And after God had managed to get me through that, then I had to deal with the fact that the kidney was gone, the grieving process. I don't know how many steps there are, but I went through all of them, every single one of them, and denial, rejection, anger, all those. And finally, God brought me through that, and I look back, and I'm so glad I was able to get through that, because that was one of the darkest times of my life, is sitting there and wondering why I've been brought through this again. If the first leg of the kidney transplant or the kidney failure, and first transplant, I knew this was God. There was no doubt with how everything had gone by and everything. There was no doubt that the hand of God was on that. But the second time, there was doubt that was creeping in. Does God have this in his control? Is he doing this because he loves me right now? Or is it because I screwed up? Is it because I made him angry somehow? Is there something that I've done wrong that makes him want to do this to me? Is he trying to teach me a lesson?
Yeah. So now you're battling doubt, you're battling fear, you're battling concern, just all these different things going on in your mind at the same time. And but I feel like oftentimes in these moments, in these seasons, when there's a storm, when there's a trial, when there's a process, a struggle, something we're going through, the Lord tends to give us some sort of direction at some point. He gives us an answer. He gives us a word. Sometimes it's through a man of God coming and prophesying or preaching to you. Sometimes it's from you reading his word yourself or through a song. And but there's some point at some point in time when your spirit gets a hold of something perhaps from God. Did that ever happen in this moment? Was there ever something where you felt like God was directing you or told you this or that? Or
So I'll say that one of the clearest words I got from him, not somebody else giving to me, but it was just me and him, excuse me, was that I wasn't going to die from this. It was something that he gave me very early, right after the rejection, after the kidney rejection, that I felt immediately, and he told me immediately is that kidney failure would not take my life. So I had that to kind of fall back on at first.
Yeah.
And then it went from being a promise to feeling more like a curse.
Yeah, because it's one of those things where it's like, oh, praise God, this isn't taking my life. And we immediately think, well, this means that the healing's coming or the miracle's coming and God's going to change it because he said this isn't taking my life. But then you think about it, well, technically people can live with kidney failure, but that means they have to do dialysis 3 times a week and be plugged up to this machine and have this machine do all this work for them and their life's drained. And so now it's like
you have no way out.
As its years start to progress by, you're like, wait, this isn't going to kill me, but does that mean this is where I'm staying for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? This is what God has
decided my fate is.
Yeah, this is my calling. And yeah, wow.
Your purpose in life is now to survive kidney failure.
Yeah, like that's what's going on in your mind. That's what you're.
Yeah. It's now a prison sentence instead of a sign of hope and a sign of faith. And so I had that going on in my mind. And there's a dear mother in our church, and she really helped me with the grieving process. Each Sunday she would come up and give me a hug that honestly would make me forget that my kidneys had even failed in the first place. And then she would always end it with, God chose you for this. God is trusting you with this. Which at a time when I'm both angry at myself and trying to figure out if God is even in this in the first place. Yeah. And then on top of that, I know that I'm stuck here for a very considerable amount of time. And then she comes by and just says, God chose you for this. God trusted you for this. Like, how do you even, I couldn't even fathom the idea of I earned kidney failure. I did something that showed God that I was ready to go through this and go to the depths of hell and then come back someday. But the issue is that I was still there and I didn't see that I was coming back anytime. So, yes, I did get words. Yes, I did get faith, or words of faith. But, I mean, each and every single one was battled by that depression. It was battled by those questions. It was battled by that doubt that was going on in my mind that just basically took every single one and flipped it and made it look as negative and as disgusting as possible. And, I mean, it took me a while to come back from that.
Yeah. So, yeah, because you're in this process for the next 4 years, and you don't know that it's about to end in 4 years, but you're in this process. This is what you're waking up to, your life, for however long it's going to be. And you've received these words, this vote of confidence from your peers or from your elders.
And then also, I'm getting platitudes from people. And people are coming up and trying to give me words of encouragement, but they have no clue what I'm facing. And so the words of encouragement end up just kind of sounding like they don't care, you know? Yeah. And so then you have people that are coming up to you and just say, oh, it's going to be okay. And I'm sitting here battling and struggling with every single thing in my life, wondering, how do you know that? Yeah. if I don't even have an idea of how I'm going to get through Monday's dialysis, is how can you tell me everything's going to be okay?
Yeah.
You know?
It's so now you're at this point where obviously your mind is getting bombarded, and it's almost like there's just all you can see is negativity, and rightfully so. It's a hard place, especially you're 19, 20, 21, 22 at this time, and just now getting to start live your life. You made plans to move out and to start your own world, and just like every other young adult, and you're now seeing that that's not possible because of where you're at. And so there's obviously a lot of doubt and discouragement that comes, and you're in this process. But as you go, obviously the Lord meant what he said about this not taking your life, and he meant it for a reason. He didn't just mean it, this is your life now and good luck.
Yeah.
Have fun, pal. But obviously there was something he was like that you're getting out of this and that you're going to do through it. But you had to keep the faith. You had to get from where you were at until the point when God had your restoration in mind. You had to ride that, well, if you would, train of faith, like getting to that destination until the moment in time that God had ordained for you. So I guess, could you talk a little bit about in those moments, because I know we've talked about it, where perhaps you started to have this transformation? Because obviously we go down in these valleys and it's hard, but there's a moment when something rises up and says, I'm not staying here. I'm going to find a situation in this. I'm going to find the good in it. I'm going to find the purpose in this, and I'm going to pursue that and get where I need to go so God can do what he needs to do in my life. So at this point, in this moment, in these long years, hard years, what point in that did that start to change, and kind of talk about what that was like and what went on?
So late 2017 to at least the first half of 2018, I wouldn't say I'd totally given up, but I was basically there. I had accepted kidney failure is now my life. This is my cross to bear, and this is where I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And I accept that 100%. And in late 2018, I got really, really sick. There was very worrisome, the condition I was in from pneumonia. And I get through that, and that next weekend I go to church, and Bishop and Mother Wright show up, and Bishop preaches the sermon and then comes down and starts talking to me about a couple things. And one of the things that he said to me was that once I find the purpose in it, I will find the faith for my miracle. And so that wasn't him giving me a word I was going to get healed. Yeah. It was just, you can't continue living like there's no purpose in your life, because what is the point of living in that case? You know, why are you here if you're not fulfilling some type of purpose? And so I began trying to find that purpose in my situation. What was the reason that God was taking me through this? What was he trying to teach me? How was he trying to help me grow? And that was a major turning point in my life, and in this situation particularly because it really refocused me, where I was just basically wandering around aimlessly with no direction and no idea of when I was coming out of this. But now there was kind of a light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. And then 2019 came around. And in the beginning of 2019, I basically just started out 2019 with faith. Yeah. I don't really know how I got it. Yeah. But it was just, I mean, me and you had a conversation early in the first month or so. Hey, I think something's going to happen this year. Yeah. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know if I'm going to get healed. I don't know if I'm going to steal somebody's kidney. But I know that something's going to happen for the better. Yeah. And so I already had this expectation, this faith that something was going to happen. And I made sure that there was a lot of other people that I had that conversation with. And I was proclaiming it, and I was beginning to speaking it. And I was already saying on a regular basis, I started adding to my regular prayers, thank you, Lord, for my kidney. Yeah. Whether that was a heal, whether that was a transplant, whatever that was. Yeah. Because now I'm already a year past when I was supposed to get a kidney on the transplant list. Yeah. Wow. So that ship had already sailed. So I was already sure that wasn't going to happen. So I was more so believing for my actual healing. Yeah. And so that you start to gain this momentum almost. It's like Chris Green talked about it at our district camp, and it was a different perspective, but it's the same analogy where he's talking about something starts off really small, but as it gains momentum rolling down a hill, it starts to pick up things and get bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's almost how your faith was, where it's just you found a little bit at the beginning. There, I remember you were just at the beginning, you were like, I don't know what it is about this year, but something's happening. Something's going to change. And
You didn't know what it was, but you took that faith, and you already, just by speaking that, you were already showing that you truly believed it, and it continued to grow and continued to increase and continue to develop. And go ahead. Starting
in 2018, the biggest challenge for me that God had challenged me to do is hold on to that mustard seed of faith. And so in my life, I had to quantify what that was. And so for me, that was just speaking it. Just having the ability, which, I mean, at the end of dialysis, I'm totally drained. I feel like death. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to hear anything from anybody. My senses are all heightened, but not in a positive way. Everything hurts. Everything just, it hurts. Yeah. And so even for me to talk, it just does not feel comfortable. But God's challenging me, just say something. Yeah. Proclaim your faith. And so he starts out by just getting me to have that mustard seed of faith. And then as 2019 continues, starting in June at youth camp, he challenged me, all right, why don't you step out a little bit more in your faith? And so one of the ways he does is I end up getting prayed for by Bishop Wright again. And this time he speaks life into my kidneys, speaks strength and a couple other things. And so immediately after, I'm like, you know what? I want to run to the bathroom, because that's the only real quantifiable way for me to try and test if I've been healed, right, because I'll be able to use the bathroom again. And so, 20 minutes goes by. I try speaking in tongues. I try thanking Jesus. I try sitting down. I try everything.
It's one of those areas where it's like you feel foolish, and sometimes your faith's going to make you look kind of crazy. Look at people in the Bible. They did some wild stuff.
I'm literally there for about 30 minutes. I'm like, maybe I should go back. Otherwise, people are like, start worrying about me, And so I go back. But the thing is that my faith wasn't broken from that. Sometimes you go to test your faith and you fall completely flat on your face, and then you're suddenly like, well, now God's not real.
You start to put that faith in allow the doubt to rise up, and you put your faith on that side instead of saying, see, this is just, it's okay, because that's what happens. We go to test it out, and I was always looking for the evidence. But that's not, faith is the evidence, and that's what we tend to forget. The evidence of things
are not seen.
Yeah, it's what you're trying to get to, and that's what we so many times do is we get this, I need to see the evidence, so we go to test it out, but nothing's there, and we're like, see, I knew this wouldn't work, and immediately we take that faith and sow it into the opposite end. You either got faith that it's going to happen, or you've got faith that it doesn't. And the moment you start taking that faith and saying, all right, I'm going to try it, and then nothing happens, you're like, see, I knew it wasn't going to happen. You just now put your faith in the fact that it wasn't going to happen. You don't get your blessing. You don't get your miracle. But when you take that faith and something doesn't happen, but you say, it's all right, this faith is my evidence. Nothing changed right now. That's okay. But something's going to come from this. Something's going to change something at some point.
As an echo from heaven.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything you cast and claim on earth is echoed in heaven to ultimately come back to you. So every single time I was pretending to go to the bathroom and nothing happened, that was then echoed back from whenever I finally did get my kidney transplant.
Kind of moving forward a little bit now that we're in 2019. So for those of you that don't know, in 2019, there is an event, 2019, like that was last year. That's still this year. Wow. This year, right? It feels like forever.
It's been a long
year. Yeah.
Wow.
So for those of you who don't know, there's a tiny event called North American Youth Congress.
At least 5 people go.
Yeah, it's a minor event. No big deal. But that was happening. And so now Congress is here. Congress is already an amazing event. It's already exciting. Andrew got to be on the photography team, which is super cool. If you don't know, he's into photography. So he gets to be on the photography team. So you're already hyped. Now, obviously, you still have to do dialysis. So you're going there. You have to do it Wednesday, Friday.
Yep. But I flew in Wednesday because I had to get dialysis first. Yeah. And then I flew on Wednesday and then got dialysis there on Friday. I actually ended up missing an event because I felt so sick after dialysis. I just kind of knocked out.
Yeah. But yeah, so you're there, and talk a little bit about what happened specifically Thursday night with Jack Cunningham's message.
So kind of quickly into his message, I felt the direction that it was going to go. So I immediately headed up to the section that our youth group was sitting at. Got a direct, giving me a couple words for a couple people in my youth. And I didn't really feel that anything was going to happen for me. Not the lack of faith. It was just that's where I was at in my spirit. I just didn't feel that my miraculous healing was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I go ahead and I head up there, and I know what else is going to happen. I know he's going to have the younger people pray, the Gen Zers pray for the older people that need miracles. And so since I'm a youth leader, automatically makes me an older person.
Right.
And so I grab two of the boys that are in our group, and I say, hey, I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but whatever happens, I want you to be a part of it. And so I want you to pray for me. And the two boys that I'm referencing are usually known for their quietness. And whenever Brother Cunningham finally gave the word of faith, something came over both of them. And honestly, there was an awesome power of God that just struck me right then and there.
Wow.
And it was really powerful. And I definitely walked away from that feeling different, but I didn't feel like I was healed.
Yeah.
And I kind of messed up, which is the beautiful thing about God is you're allowed to mess up
Right.
because he's always going to give you another chance. But I kind of messed up because I didn't run straight to the bathroom and test my faith again, because I already made up in my mind that nothing was happening. And so I talked to one of our elders, and he tells me, "What are you still doing here? Go test it." And so in a stadium of 35,000 people, I'm in the bathroom speaking in tongues while people are just going through, and they're like, "Who's this weird kid in the stall? What is he doing?"
You must really got some Jesus,
Yeah,
because it's still
exactly.
carrying over. Praise God.
Jesus won't give you a break to use the bathroom. I mean, come on now.
He's
And
like, he couldn't leave the altar call. He took the altar call to the bathroom.
another 20 minutes goes by, and I finally head back. Amazingly, the service is still going on and everything. And he just tells me, he says, every chance you get, you need to be testing your faith, because that is your proclamation of your faith.
Yeah.
You've gone beyond just speaking it. Now it's actual action that you are putting behind it that is showing where your faith is.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that night. It was so I'm one of those people when your best friend is going through something, and that and you've got the faith, especially in times when they don't, to pray for them, which is literally all the time they don't. You are in their corner. So I'm saying that to say, when it came to a service, when someone was saying the miraculous is in here tonight, or the waters are troubled, or healing's coming, I was like, where is Andrew? I'm praying for this dude right now. In Jesus' name, it's happening. And every time it wasn't a matter of God told me to do it. I had the faith, and I was like, I want it to happen.
This isn't an exaggeration. I'm pretty sure you prayed for my kidneys more than I actually did.
Probably. But it's so that's where I was at. Is I was like, look, if I can pray about it and see something happen, something's gonna happen. When I'm starting to get to this point in my walk with God, where I'm trying to be more sensitive and praying about the things that He wants me to, not that I want to, but that He wants to, His will, His plan, His desires to come forth. So I'm reaching this point where I'm trying to be more sensitive and not just praying about the things I care about. For example, a friend, it's his need. And saying all that to say, we're at Congress, and Jack Cunningham starts to preach, and he's getting to the closing where he's about to do the altar call, and faith is about to go forth, and miraculous and healing is about to take place, and I could feel it. And I remember the moment it happened. I'm sitting there, I'm on the floor, and immediately I feel it is clear in my spirit, Andrew's kidney is coming. And I'm like, wait, what? And just again, Andrew's kidney is coming. Now, I meant to go back and watch, and I didn't get a chance to, and I probably will after this, or maybe some of you know. I lied to you not. Either Jack Cunningham said it in the microphone, or I literally heard an audible voice from God. But because I had talked to him and I talked to a couple others, and they didn't remember hearing it, but it might have been louder where they were, and where I was at, I could hear
it. A little bit loud with the people yelling at my ear.
Yeah, a little bit. So I think it could be just that, but I feel it was like as if I'm pretty sure he said, someone's kidney is coming, or someone's in need of a kidney and it's on its way, or something along those lines about a kidney specifically. And immediately I'm like, see, this is Andrew's. Where's he at? I'm going to pray for him. I'm finding him right now, because again, that's when I felt it. I was like, I got to go pray. And immediately I'm getting frustrated, because if you've ever been at Congress, it's kind of hard to find people there. And he's on a completely different side of the stadium. And I'm getting frustrated. And I'm trying to find him. No one's answering their phone. Obviously, they're all praying. And I'm like, I can't find him. God, where is he at? Where is he at? I need to pray. I need to pray. I need to pray. I need to pray. And I'm getting agitated and aggravated. And finally, it was like there was just a halt in my spirit that said, stop. And I calmed down and I stopped. And God said, did I tell you to go pray for him? And I was like, no. It's like, what did I tell you? Is that Andrew's kidney's on the way. So just speak the word of faith, believe it, and begin to praise me for it. And I spoke the word of faith and said, I believe Andrew's kidney is on its way. No idea what that means, but I believe it. In Jesus' name, it's coming. And I just started to praise God and worship and just thank him for it. And the crazy thing is, going back to that evidence, I grew up with the concept of I needed the evidence all the time. I was doubting Thomas. Not in the sense of, now, I respect Thomas for what he wanted to get something, a hold of it for himself, and I understand that. But in the side of the moment, my struggle was, if I didn't see evidence, my faith went to the opposite end, and I was like, I no longer believe that this is going to happen. That was just something I struggled with. And I would always go to you after I prayed, either the next day or the very moment, like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
Yeah.
And every time I was like, nope, nothing happened to the dialysis, nothing happened with this and that. And I was just like, oh, yeah,
Sometimes it was the opposite. No, it was a really bad one today.
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, great. And I would put my faith in the opposite end and I'd be like, well, see, nothing's going to happen. But this time, it was so set in my spirit. I gave it to God. I moved on, didn't think anything about it. And I literally see him that night, literally see him the next day, literally see him the next 8-10 days after that.
We flew home together.
We flew home together. We spent all Saturday together. And not one time did it pop in my head, ask him about the kidney, ask him what was going on. Because it was settled in my mind. And I never thought about it until literally 2 weeks later, almost 2 weeks, just shy of 2 weeks later, Tuesday at 9:30 p.m., you call me on the phone, and immediately I remember what happened at Congress. What'd you talk to me about at 9:30 at night on Tuesday?
I got the call, the kidney call, the infamous
I
call.
remember I'm sitting on my couch, I was watching a movie, and I was just vegged out, and he calls, and I'm like, oh, man, probably needs to talk.
He doesn't like to answer my calls, if you don't know this, by the way.
I don't answer a lot of phone calls. It's hard sometimes.
So if he doesn't answer your calls, don't take it offensively.
Literally, I don't answer my
he
best
doesn't do his
friend's
best
phone call.
friend, so.
But I'm like, oh, man, he probably needs me. I was like, all right, let's see what's going on. Hey, man, what's up? I got the call. What? I got the call. The call. I like flipped my, like, I had like a blanket. I was just like going, because like, wait, what do you need? Can I come in the hospital? And I like lose it. And he's like, yeah, they're figuring out what's going on, blah, blah, blah. But he gets the call. So tell us about this call. Tell us about what happened. Tell us about this story of this kidney.
Well, I'm actually working late that night because there was a project that needed to be done, and I knew how to do it, or at least I thought I knew how to do it. And so I stayed late to work on this project, and it was kind of funny actually. I get this call and it's an unknown number, but I go ahead and answer it, and the lady answers, "Hi, how was your day?" Good? What? Who is this asking? Who are you? Oh, I work for the transplant division. And she starts telling me all these random stats about apparently an organ. I'm like, excuse me, what is this call? And she says, oh, this is your kidney call. If you get in the hospital in the next 4 or 5 hours, we'll be able to have you transplanted by midday tomorrow.
So
excuse
casual.
me?
So nonchalant. Hey, I've got the key to your life, your future. Do you want it? Are you
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow.
Like, are you offering me a timeshare right now? Like, what? You're helping me, not helping me at all. And so I go ahead, I freak out, I call every single person that's close to me, all my family, everybody. Hey, this is happening. It's happening. It's happening. We get there, and after the first doctor we talked to, it already starts off. It's kind of weird. It's like the way that they're talking about this kidney they're a little bit more overjoyed than they should be. Yeah. So we were searching for the needle in the needle stack that was in the haystack that was in the mountain of the needles.
Yeah.
The kidney that we had to find had to be the perfect kidney. Otherwise, they were expecting a minimum of 2 to 3 months of recovery just to get the kidney to survive. After my rejection, there were special antibodies that grew that basically their only job was to kill kidneys. Yeah. And so this kidney that they found had to be perfectly tuned and not have the same antibodies to make sure that it even had a chance of surviving. Yeah. So they were expecting already 2 to 3 months in the hospital. It's going to be a struggle to get this to survive. We don't know how it's going to happen. And as doctors, they're not allowed to say the word miracle. Yeah. That's just false hope that they're not allowed to give. Well, they said just about every single word other than miracle. The surgeon comes up to us the next morning. I'm in the pre-op area. He comes up and he says, this is the best kidney I've ever seen. Wow. He says, this is a 1 in a million kidney. Yeah. This is a gift. Yeah. He says that's kind of odd for a surgeon to say, this is a gift, you know? Yeah. Usually they just view it as like, oh, well, this is another organ, treat it right, you know.
And didn't another person say something along the lines of like, this couldn't be any better if it was your own kidney? Like if it was your own kidney, like.
They said it was so perfect that my body saw it as my own tissue.
Oh, like that's literally how, wow.
That my body was reading it as my own kidney. Now I'm still on immunosuppressant medications, you know, still taking the necessary steps to make sure there isn't rejection, but no doctor has seen a kidney like this. Every single doctor that has seen the stats, I was shown a page by one of my doctors a couple weeks ago, and the first line is about 14 tests, and each test has a value, 24, 36, 72, just random numbers. And then the next line was the donors. and they tested the donor's kidney as soon as they found out he was a kidney donor. And you would expect it, 5 off, 10 off, 3 off. Every single number was the exact same as my number.
Praise God.
That's the same odds as me never hearing the word basketball or a basketball team and picking a perfect bracket with every single thing being perfect. Like never hearing the word basketball. That's those odds of that happening. And so now I went from being although I wasn't on the brink of death, I felt like I was on the brink of death.
Right.
Now with such a perfect kidney that I was out of the hospital in 6 days.
A kidney transplant, not just I had a cold, I had the flu, a huge surgery. He's out of the hospital in less than a week's time.
One of my favorite memories of that week is they encourage you to walk around the hallways because it's going to make you feel better. It's going to make you feel healthier. And so I was doing my daily walk, and the on-call doctor is going through and doing his rounds, and he walks by my by my room, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, I'm coming to my room," and he says, "Oh, no, I'm gonna go see the sick patients first. I'll come to you later."
Yeah,
I just had a kidney put in me. What are you talking about, the sick patients?
Oh man,
I was in such good condition. My numbers were getting better every single day.
Wow.
I mean, there's no other word than a miracle.
Yeah. Praise God. And I think the coolest part is when we think of miracle, our perspective is so limited. We put God in this box. We say, this is how it's got to look. This is how it's got to be. This is how it's got to go down. When you think miracle for a kidney, you don't think someone's giving me a kidney that just happens to be an organ donor from a couple states over and it's going to work out. We think it's growing back and these are just going to be restored. And sure, that would be amazing, pretty climactic. It'd be fantastic. But we limit God, and we sometimes settle for something that we don't label as a miracle because it didn't match these extremes. But when you sit back and think about the parts that had to happen to make that happen, and not even just that, the fact of how perfect this kidney was, the doctors could literally, without using the word, say it was nothing short of a miracle. And that's the kind of God we serve, where what would happen if we just took the limits off and decided to say, you know what, it might not be the way that I want it, it might not be how I like it, but there's something miraculous that's going to happen because that's who we serve. We serve a miraculous God.
And you know what's funny is I had already made up in my mind that I was going to get healed any other way other than a kidney transplant.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, he's going to bring all 3 kidneys to life,
right,
and then I'm going to have to get one of them removed.
Sell one of them on
eBay. You can't have more than 2 because then it starts doing negative effects. Or you know what? He's just going to bring the transplanted one to life, and I'm never going to need medications. I had all these different scenarios in my mind, and not one of them was, oh, maybe I'll just get a transplant.
Yeah.
That was the only one that I had knocked off as because my God was too good for it. I mean, I had people that I got in text from internationally saying, hey, I'm praying for you. Hey, I'm believing with God. Across the country, states from everywhere, saying, hey, we're believing with you. So I knew that people knew about this, and so I knew this was God's chance.
Yeah,
you
use it. Yeah,
exactly.
Bring it back to life, right?
You can do something big right now. And instead, he's like, no, I'm just going to give you a transplant. But then you start looking at it. Well, I was actually supposed to die 3 times before this.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? My own mom's kidney was just an okay kidney.
Yeah.
And now this random 50-year-old
stranger
from another
nothing
state
connected to you,
is the most perfect kidney I could have ever gotten.
Yeah.
And so you just look at the way he works and how he just intertwines these little things that just show there's nobody else that could have done this than him. Yeah. And it's just like you go into things, you go into situations where you're trying to control every single aspect of it, and yet God still dealt with my control issues through this situation. You know, it's baffling.
It was one of the other areas that he was working on, because it wasn't just, that's the other thing with God, he's such a multitasker.
Oh yeah,
I know.
He
doesn't just do one thing.
Has to overdo it every single time.
He's getting a lot of stuff done, and so here you've been blessed with this miracle. You're a walking testimony now. People have already been impacted by your story, and hopefully many more will be impacted by it. And it's a testimony in and of itself. But now you've gotten this journey that you've gone on. This adventure, if you want to call it that.
It's been an adventure.
This trial, this test, but that brought about this testimony. These problems, but it brought about this amazing testimony, this story. And it was a matter of yes, the hard times came. Yes, there was pain, there was heartache, there was loss, but there was so much gained and there was so much beauty in it, so much that we could learn and obtain from these hard times in our life, things that I've experienced that were hard or that were a trial. And I saw the many layers that God was doing in my life, the many things that he was establishing. That, and the coolest part is we will never stop understanding. Like, there's always something else. Like,
I'm still learning things. Just 2 weeks ago, so for a while now, there's a lot of major events that happened throughout the kidney failure. A lot of moments that kind of stand out to me, and so looking back, I kind of see them all as tacks on a tack board. And I recently kind of just had this revelation, and I saw God kind of take a piece of string and just wrap it around the first tack, and then he connected the second tack, and then the third tack, and just all the way around. And I just kind of saw this little wave that it created, showing how each and every single one was intertwined. Hey, remember whenever I had you pray this? Hey, remember whenever you struggled with this and you started doing this? Just these little things that I thought were so insignificant, but it turns out they were slowly preparing me for this kidney transplant. They were slowly preparing me for the end of this thing that I saw no way out of.
They were equipping you. They were empowering you. They were enabling you to go to the places you needed to go and to do the things that you needed to do and to ultimately be the person that you needed to be. And that's such a powerful story, and that's so many of us can relate to that, or hopefully learn from that in any areas in our life, in any trial, in any situation we're going through, good, bad, ugly, things we can control, things we can't, things that are mild problems we want to call it, and things that are the extremes that we want to blow up. But the reality of it is, our God is a faithful God. Our God is a loving God. He's a just God. And when it comes to our God, there is always a reason for the rain. There's always a testimony to come from the tests, and there's always a purpose in the pain.
There is.
There's always a purpose in the pain. Sometimes we don't like it, sometimes we don't understand it, but if we simply embrace the loving God that he is and walk with him and trust him and take that faith and just go where we need to go and do the things we need to do and be the things we need to be, eventually we can find the purpose in the pain.
You know, something that's so beautiful about that is the level of pain does not dictate the level of purpose.
Wow, it's good.
Hold on, because there is an end. There is purpose. I have called you for this purpose. And now I'm looking back, and Sister Owens, the dear mother that would say that stuff to me every single week, it just rings in my ears. God chose you for this. God trusted you for this. For this purpose. For this pain.
Praise God, man. Well, thank you for sharing. I hope everyone listening or watching that this has helped you or impacted you. And
it's helped me.
It's helped me. I'm over here and trying not to cry on my own video. But yeah, it's an awesome testimony, an awesome story, and thank you for sharing it. Like I said, hopefully this helps someone out there. That this is you've gotten a little bit of this faith. Maybe this helped build you up some. And
I mean, that's been my prayer from the very beginning. I remember the very first week, I'm laying in the hospital bed. You're in the couch thing next to me. You're knocked out. But I remember praying a very specific prayer that, God, let just one person be reached out of this, and it'll make it all worth it. It's fair to say that I believe that, just from the responses I've gotten from other things in my life that I've done, that other people have been affected by this. But I just wanted, at the end of the day, I wanted to make sure that this was for his glory, for his honor, you know. I wanted to make sure that somebody was reached off of this, because if I'm the only one affected, then it goes to waste, you know? Which, of course, I mean, hundreds of people have been affected by now.
It's exciting.
Maybe tens.
Tens of hundreds, tens of 20s.
Tens of ones.
Tens of ones of people. So thank you all again for watching. Real quick, super excited. So for those of you that don't know, if you want to hear more about Andrew's story, read more about it, learn more about some of the processes, some of the purposes, some of the pain that he went through, some of the trials, the different things that came up. He is actually a blogger. Started doing that through this whole process, and he's got a blog. I will link that in all the areas that there could be a link in the video, my bio, all this. So
it's also in my bio.
It's in his bio.
Purposeinthepain.blog is the
that's
URL.
The URL. Purposeinthepain.blog is the URL if you want to check it out if you're into reading. And learn more about it. And also, if you're into reading, I hear you've got another project coming out very soon.
I might be.
What's going on with that?
I mean, we had to condense a lot of stuff into however long this podcast is. And so I'm expounding a lot more of that in a book.
Hey.
And so my goal is 2020 to have it, hopefully have it out by then. At least the e version, maybe the printed version might take a little bit longer, but that's my goal at the moment.
Awesome, man.
And just trying to go a little bit more in depth of what I experienced, what I went through, and what I found God's purpose ultimately was.
Praise God. Well, there you have it. The 4 kidney having author extraordinaire. Nobel. Wait, do people do Nobels? No. What are their awards for a book?
They're gonna give me a Nobel.
No, best. Book.
Oprah
something.
Winfrey Book Club.
I don't know. It's like New York Times bestseller. That's what it is. New York Times bestseller, author and blogger Andrew Nielsen. Thank you again, bro, for coming on the show and the podcast. And I love and appreciate you, and so exciting to see your life getting back together, but also to see all the beautiful things that have come from this season, and that you're able to find the purpose in the pain. And I believe that you are going to impact more people's lives through this story and through this testimony, man.
Can you say purpose in the pain just one more time, please?
It's so powerful. I just love it. Just purpose in the pain.
It's one of those statements that just like verifies itself the more that you think about it.
Purpose in the pain. Love you guys.
I love you
we'll
too,
see
man.
you next time.
I'll see you guys later.
Thank you, and always remember, keep it real.
And if you comment my name enough in the tags and in the comments, then I'm gonna come back. So
I definitely did the keep it real and had my thumbs up, and then you kept talking. So
I know.
now it's just awkward because I was just standing like that, and now I'm like, wait, he's talking.
Should I do a keep it real?
No.
Should we do it together?
No,
Can
we can do it together. You
All right,
ready?
on 3.
1, 2, 3.
Wait, on 3 or after 3?
1, 2, 3. Then do it.
Okay.
1, 2.
Am I saying keep it real also?
Yes.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Keep it real.